This is inside of an old mechanical clock. And here, how it works. Here a lot of gears are connected with each other, which might seem complicated, but let's unsolve the mystery of this mechanical masterpiece. Almost all mechanical wall clock has a pendulum in it. It hangs down from a point and swings back and forth continuously while maintaining certain time period. This clock has two functions: 1, to show time accurately with minute and hour hand, and 2, make bell sound every hour. For that it has two set of mechanisms. Here this left side gear train responsible for bell sound, and right side gear set is responsible for running the clock accurately. This is called strike train and this one is called time train. First let's figure out the time train. Let's start from the basic. This is a clock arbor. This high polished steel barrel has small pivot section at both ends. This is the backplate of the clock frame. It has tiny holes in it. Bushing fits into it, then pivot point stays inside supported by the bushing. Gears are fitted onto the arbor barrel. So arbor and gears rotate together. Support plates bushings makes contact with arbor pivot, generating minimum friction on contact surfaces and allowing the gear and arbor rotate freely. This is the center arbor. It's little longer than other arbors. This cannon pinion is joined on this arbor. So cannon pinion and center arbor rotate together. Behind this cannon pinion, center wheel is loosely fitted on the arbor. So center wheel can spin freely. This hour pipe with gear end slides on the center arbor. Center arbor doesn't make it rotate. This tiny piece fits on the hour pipe, and hour hand of the clock is attached to it. So hour hand rotates along with the hour pipe. But minute hand slides into this tiny square section of the center arbor. Minute hands rotate along with the center arbor. This gear set is essential for hour hand to function properly. It has two gears on it. Bigger gear is in mesh with cannon pinion. When center arbor rotates, this cannon pinion drives this bigger wheel. As this pinion gear is also fitted on the same arbor shaft, the smaller pinion gear also rotates at same speed of the bigger gear. Now this pinion gear rotates the hour gear. With this brilliant two-steps gear reduction setup, center arbor indirectly drives hour pipe, and hour hand rotates 12 times slower than the minute hand. In other words, only turning the center arbor makes both clock hands work. This second wheel on the time train makes the center arbor rotate but indirectly. You see, second wheel is in gear mesh with center wheel. This coil spring on center arbor pushes the center wheel against the cannon pinion at front. It develops friction joint between these two gears. So when center wheel is turned, center wheel drives cannon pinion, thus center arbor rotates. This friction joint provides one useful advantage during manually setting the clock hands. When clock hand is turned manually to set the initial time, center arbor turns and cannon pinion rotates sliding against center wheel. Thus, center will stay stationary without transmitting any motion to second wheel. But when second wheel drives center wheel drives cannon pinion, and the clock hands work. This is an old mechanical type clock, so it does not run by battery or electricity. This second wheel is turned by the great wheel placed below it. Great wheel has maximum number of teeth. A spiral spring inside makes this great wheel turn in clockwise direction. This spiral spring is the main power source of this clock. Outer end of the spring locked in this pin. Here one end of the arbor goes inside the center of this spring. At center end of this spring has a tiny hole. A pin on the arbor goes inside that hole and locks the spring with the arbor. When a key is inserted at front end and turned, the arbor turns the flat spiral spring from inside center. Thus spiral spring winds up and stores mechanical energy in it. When key is released, flat spring will start releasing that stored energy and it will start turning the arbor clockwise. A ratchet wheel is joined with this arbor, so ratchet wheel rotates along with the arbor during unwinding of the flat spring. Here another brilliant technique is applied to transfer power from spring to great wheel. Great wheel is actually free to spin. So, how the spring turns the great wheel to run the clock? The answer is very simple. This tiny pawl hinged on the great wheel. Other end of the pawl locks into ratchet teeth. So, when key is used to restore energy in flat spring, ratchet wheel turns but it does not make the great wheel turn. But during discharge of spring energy, pawls locks into ratchet tooth. So when ratchet teeth turns clockwise, it makes the pawls in great wheel turn in clockwise direction too. This way kinetic energy stored in the spring makes arbor and ratchet wheel rotate clockwise, and through pawl, great wheel rotates at same speed. And great wheel turns second wheel pinion in counterclockwise, and second wheel drives center wheel in clockwise direction. After one's restoring spring energy with clock key, this type of clock generally runs for 7 to 8 days. But how? The reason is simple. Great wheel has the highest number of teeth, while second wheel's lantern pinion has only few teeth. So the gear ratio is very high, nearly 10 times. Again, gear reduction happens between second wheel and the center wheel. Here you can see, in 1 hour time period, when minute hand rotates 360 degrees, then second wheel rotates only half or less. And great wheel turns less than 20 degrees. With this calculation, great wheel makes less than 2 turns in a day. But to make it run precisely with time flow, this following set of gears are necessary. Otherwise, spring will try to discharge stored energy at high speed, and clock will run out without matching with the actual time flow. This is the third gear wheel on the time train. And this one is the fourth wheel. And this is the fifth wheel, also known as escape wheel. A small lantern pinion and a big gear attached to each wheel's arbor. These gears are in gear mesh with each other in series, so one wheel drives and controls the speed of the next wheel. Here, second wheel gear drives the third wheel's pinion gear, so third wheel rotates in clockwise direction and faster than second wheel. Again, third wheel's big gear drives fourth wheel's lantern gear. Fourth wheel rotates faster than third wheel and it rotates in counterclockwise direction. At last, fourth wheel's big gear drives the pinion gear on the escape wheel's arbor. So, escape wheel rotates clockwise and faster than fourth wheel. With this series of gear reduction, escape wheel rotate at highest speed but with minimum torque. So, escape wheel's motion can be stopped with minimum applied force. This anchor escapement device controls the escapement wheel's motion. This is a recoil anchor arrangement. In a recoil anchor escapement, there are some noticeable design features present. Anchor has 2 pallets. This one is entry pallet, and this is exit pallet, both have different shapes. And the escape wheel teeth are pointing opposite, to the direction of rotation. A thin rod or crutch is connected to the anchor, and other end of the crutch fork stays around pendulum rod. This anchor, crutch and pendulum work together to control escape wheel's motion precisely with time. Pendulum suspension spring is attached to the pendulum post with a tapered pin. Pendulum rod is connected to suspension spring. And pendulum bob is attached at the bottom. A pendulum swings back and forth due to gravity. Starting from one extreme position, if a pendulum takes 2 seconds to return back there, then we shall call it a 2-second pendulum. That means pendulum has a period of 2 seconds. If it takes 1 second, then it's a 1-second pendulum. It depends on the length of the pendulum. But once a pendulum starts swinging back and forth, air resistance and gravity starts acting against it. So after certain time it stops. To keep it swinging continuously, an external force is necessary. Here recoil anchor provides that force. Here you can see one tooth of escape wheel is resting against entry pallet of the anchor. As escape wheel is driven by time train, so initially escape wheel try to turn clockwise. And front end of this tooth will push the anchor pallet downward. This force will move the anchor crutch. Crutch fork will give a little push to the pendulum rod. This is impulse. Now, as soon as tooth gets free from pellet surface, it will drop and rotate forward quickly. Now pendulum and anchor motion gives slight back push to escape wheel via exit pallet. This results a slight recoil motion in escape wheel. Again, this process repeats, and escape wheel's tooth turn one by one in a controlled way with the pendulum motion. And pendulum also receives power during each impulse. Thus pendulum moves back and forth as long as escape wheel rotates. Suppose, escape wheel has 30 teeth, and pendulum is set at 1 second period. So escape wheel rotates twice in a minute. With proper gear ratio setup among these 4 wheel sets, center arbor or minute hand will turn 6 degrees in a minute. So clock will run with accurate time. The clock is placed inside a closed wooden box to protect. It also eliminates external vibration effect on the pendulum motion. In next video we shall review how strike train makes bell sound. So, like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support.